Your booth layout is losing you money. Well, probably, I don't know your booth layout because I'm talking to a phone right now, but it could be. Booth layouts aren't just aesthetically important, but are a huge factor in how much money you make. I know that that may sound a little overdramatic, but let me explain a situation that happened at the last convention I was at. A crochet artist decided to do an in-shape booth layout to display all of their products on. In theory, this was a great idea. There is tons of tabletop space to display all of the products all at once. And it was a super busy convention, so there's going to be a ton of eyes on it. But the reality of that is a little bit different. With the in-shape booth layout, you kind of have to go inside this little closed off space to really start shopping. The convention was extremely crowded, which was amazing, but it kind of had the opposite effect with that booth layout. Since there were so many people, they would all have to jam into this tight little space together. And not only is it people just in this small space having to shop really close together, think of your average con goer. There's big backpacks, there's huge cosplays, wings, giant weapons, just not the ideal situation to want to have to be back to back with somebody in a 3-foot diameter. At the end of the convention, I talked to her and she barely made booth back. And it had absolutely nothing to do with her. Her art was great, crochet was great, the tabletop, the way she displayed things was awesome. I think it solely had to do with the fact that she had her booth where you had to enter it. And I'm not saying the in-shape booth layout should never be used. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that there is a time and place for that layout. But what is the time and place? That is what I'm going to be going over with everybody in this video today. I'm going to be going over all of the different type of booth layouts you can possibly think of and going over each ideal scenario for each one. I'm also going to be going over corner versus inline because those are two very different scenarios. So let's get started. Also, just a quick disclaimer, I am not a professional. I've only been doing this for about 5 to 6 years, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. This is just what I've noticed from the few years that I've been doing it, what booth layout does what to the psychology of when people are shopping. So again, big ol' bucket of salt when you see this. Also, if I say something about a booth layout that you use and you feel like my opinion is just completely incorrect, feel free to maybe not correct me in the comments, but just give your own explanation of how you feel that booth layout works for you. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. Blow up the comments. Say, hey, you're crazy. Your booth layout opinions are the worst. Go crazy. But let's start breaking these booth layouts down, starting with the in shape that I just talked about. Also, for this first half, I'm going to be referring to it as if it was done in an inline. So this is an extremely classic booth layout that you will see at almost every single convention. I personally think that it's actually really, really good for table space because it has tons of tabletop display space area. It's great. It's not just one straight across table. There are 3 tables that you're using to display a ton of product. The only problem is what I mentioned earlier with having to enter a booth. You're going to have a very hard time selling your socially anxious people on going inside and being that close to strangers. I think this booth layout would actually be great for either less busy conventions or even better, an outdoor convention where you have a tarp over your booth layout. I'm saying this because that way people can go inside to hide from the sun and kind of get in the shade. The only way that you're going to be able to make me feel comfortable getting that close to strangers is if there's a promise of hiding my Victorian ghost child-like skin from the sun.
The sun is a deadly laser.
Another way to make an in layout seem not as personal is to push the middle table forward, so it's kind of more like an H. That back half of the side tables can be just for you, for your own product, to write stuff on, to have lunch on. Also, since it's shallow, people don't really feel like they're entering your booth anymore, making it more easy for people to approach. Now, if you're doing this layout for a corner, it's almost the exact same issue with having to enter the booth, but the only benefit added with the corner is the fact that people can shop that side table from both sides. But again, still not the best with people having to enter a booth unless it's a less busy convention or an outdoor craft fair. If you flip the in though, you get a U-shaped booth. I absolutely love U-shaped booths so much. Also, sadly, the U-shaped booth is only going to work if you have a corner space, because if you do this in an inline, you're just going to be squishing yourself and have no exit out, and just don't do that to yourself. But you might be looking at this table right here and thinking, what on earth is this one for? Because customers can't reach it. And that one is the secret to why I love this one so much, is because that table is all for you. Need packing space? Table. Somewhere to eat? table. Somewhere to write inventory, table. It is amazing, and I feel like it gives the vendor such a breath of fresh air of not having to feel like you're just confined to everything being on your lap or the tiny little space in front of you. The other thing that I absolutely love about this layout is the fact that the tables are on the edge of your booth restrictions. I don't know how to say that. The tables are on the edge of the booth layout. And the reason that this is so great is because it makes the flow of traffic just flow so easily. There are no hangups, no one's bumping into each other, no one has to enter and like be super close to a stranger. And it's even great for people who want to kind of like step back and not be right up on your booth, but still be able to see what you're selling. I did this exact layout a few years ago at a convention I did that was so insanely busy, and it was perfect. The one and only hangup that I had was a me problem. I accidentally displayed something that could just be picked up and ran off with at the corner, and so I had quite a bit of theft issues, but that was entirely on me. If you're gonna do this, just anything that you display on this corner right here, just make sure that it's like cinched down or just a display piece that people can't just like rip off and run away with. So again, this is a corner booth only layout, and I do not suggest doing this for an inline. But let's talk about a layout that doesn't require a school cafeteria amount of tables. The humble table layout. It's just simply a table that goes from wall to wall in your space, and that's it. This layout is commonly seen in Artist Alley because the space size is a lot smaller than what vendors get. And so typically the only space that we have for is just a table. Doing just the table is great if you have display only things to where people will come up, tell you what they want, and then you hand it to them. Because with the table, you can do what a lot of artists do where they buy the snap together panels and go vertical. And so you just put all of your stuff on these little panels, and that way people can see it from way far back. It's great for art prints, stickers, posters, just things that you need to display and then hand to people when they want to buy it. With the table layout, I am only suggesting this for inline and not corner. If you have a corner space available and you only do a table, please add a second table or just something to take advantage of the fact that you're on a corner. And when I say corner, I also mean if you're at the end of a row of booths and you have a curtain wall here, I'm still considering you a corner. All you have to do to fix the fact that you're not like ideally a walk-up corner is throw some bed risers on your table and it'll lift it up to where it's the same height as the hip curtain. That way people can still shop at your table and it will still act just like a normal corner booth. Or if you don't want to buy the bed risers, you can snap some of those snap together panels and make like a little makeshift shelf for people to shop off of. I did this at my last convention and it worked really well. Never let a curtain get you down, queen. I need a cheerwine break. I'm sweating so bad. Okay, time to go over the infamous Z layout that I have just been seeing everybody swear by online. So personally, I've never used the Z layout, but it seems pretty fun. It's kind of weird, it's different, I like it.
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
From what I've seen, this layout is great for not only table space because you have 3 tables, but also making people feel like they're not really entering your booth. This little outdoor table provides space for people to like walk up and shop but not really have to enter. They can kind of decide if they like everything on the outside, then if they want to go inside. However, you still do have to enter to a certain degree. It just doesn't seem as tight as the U since it's not in the center of all the tables, it's on the edge. So it kind of gives the illusion of you not having to enter the booth, but you still are, so it kind of helps the psychology for the shoppers. It still is going to be a little bit tight of a squeeze, especially if you're in an inline, but if you're on a corner space, I can see that this would be a great use of space. It provides a ton of interesting shopping area for the shopper, it's a unique setup, so that makes it fun for the shopper, and you have your own little back of house area. However, the only issue that I could possibly see happening is where it inverts right here where the corners meet. I could see people trying to shop at these opposite tables and then being uncomfortable with getting close to each other and wanting to shop at this corner space. Again, I have never done the Z layout, so I can't say 100% that is something that happens. Just in my personal experience as someone who has done conventions a few times, I am nervous that this might happen. Again, I think this one would be great for slower conventions or outdoor conventions, or if you have a corner booth. Inline booths at a busy convention, I'm not 100% sure. I am 50-50 still. I've never done it, so I don't know. That one's on you to decide. That one's on you, baby. And now it is time for my absolute favorite booth layout of all time, the L. I know L is more commonly linked to loser, but in this one, it's a real winner. My dad's gonna like that joke. I at least know one person's gonna laugh at that. Tragically, for the L to work in full effect, it's going to be best on a corner booth. It could be done on an inline if you flipped it, but for what I'm about to be talking about, I'm using it in a corner booth scenario. The L is absolutely amazing because it has no choik. Again, people can walk around it and there are no choke points. Why can I not say that? There are no choke points of traffic. Oh my god, what's happening to me? And again, like the U, people can shop at it from a safe distance. The only thing different between the L and the U is that little interior table that you had with the U, you don't have with this one. And personally for me, I don't really need that table. I just have a little 3-tier roller cart that I use to have all my stuff in, and I use the top of it to like make buttons, write stuff on, whatever I need. If you need a big 4-foot table like that in your back of house area, I would suggest doing the U though, if you have more of a need for that with what you sell. But for me, personally, I would rather have more space in my back of house for me to kind of breathe. And I just use that little 3-rolling cart and it works perfect. You genuinely cannot go wrong with an L layout if you have a chance to use it. I highly suggest it. And you might be thinking, well, I sell more art prints, or I sell more tabletop stuff, or I sell both. It's perfect for all of that. I also sell both. One table I use to just have all of my tabletop stuff. I put all my Pokemon terrariums on it. Anything that I just need everything out at once on, that's what I put on one table. And then with the other table, I go vertical. I do all of my snap together panels, do art prints, posters, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll have kind of space in front of that to display more tabletop stuff. It is great. You can do so many fun things with it. I love the L layout. And like I talked about earlier with using it in an inline and flipping it, I think that that one could also be really good. It kind of will do the same thing as the Z, where it doesn't seem as tight of a squeeze to go in. But again, I preface with any booth layout where you have to enter it, almost, I would say 80% of your socially anxious people, they're just gonna skip. They're gonna be way too anxious unless they see their special interest in there, and then they will be in there. But other than that, you're gonna have a very hard time with my little anxiety people. But that is it for all of the booth layouts that I have. I know that there are probably more that you're thinking in your head, well, what about this one? And what about this one? But I try to do all of the bare basic ones that I have seen everywhere. So if there is a booth layout that you think that I should talk about that I'm missing, comment it below and I will comment my thoughts and opinions. But I really hope this video helped you decide your next booth layout for your next convention or craft fair or whatever you're doing. I hope that this helped. And if it did help and you want to see more videos like this, you should maybe subscribe, drop me a like. I don't know, it sounds really cool and really fun. I wish I could do it because I heard all the cool kids are doing it, so you could too. But anyways, thanks y'all for watching and I will catch you next time.